Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another ASMR video. Now, today is going to be my first soft spoken ASMR. The reason why simply is because today I'm going to be reading, and I think it's a little bit more of a pragmatic medium, or in other words, it just sounds better that way. So yeah, please let me know what you think, and if you like it, then I will continue with it, and if you absolutely despise it, like I do, to be honest, I don't really like soft-spoken ASMR. I found it counterintuitive, but I guess in a way it's like being read a bedtime story or something like that. Anyway, before I get into the stories, I recently picked up something today, and I thought it would just be fun to ask you guys if you can recognize what it's from. So I'm going to introduce it to you with a bit of a funny story about it, because it just completely jogged my memory when I saw it. But I will put a timestamp in the description if you want to skip this. Anyway, so when I lived in England, I used to work at TK Maxx, a store, and we weren't allowed our phones. That didn't stop me from having them out, but often I would have it taken away from me. This was one of those days and at that point I had recently started working there, so my know-how of the store was atrocious, to say the least. I mean, I literally didn't know if there was an elevator or not. But one day, this guy comes up to me and he says, "What's the time?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't want to get my phone out, right? I don't think I even can, so let me check." So I go, I show him my watch, and I'm like, "Oh wait, that's not the right time, it can't be." I started at 4, it's showing at 3 or something like that, I can't remember, but it wasn't right. So I go, "Okay, well, hold on, let me show you my other way of telling the time." And I go into my pocket, and I reach out, and I grab a pocket watch. And I used to wear this with me literally everywhere, and if you guys can tell what this is from, I will be very impressed. I'll give you a hint for anyone who likes reading. Then you might know this, but it usually comes with a chain and a little ring at the top here, which I broke a long time ago, much to my devastation. But yeah, I whipped that out. Lo and behold, the times are wrong. So I go and whip out my the little work scanner phone we get for collections, and guess what? Yeah, it's out of battery. Never even happened before, by the way. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll go to the fitting room and go to the little phone that has the time on there. So I go to that. I see, okay, it's like 4:40. So I say, "Oh, it's 4:40. He goes, "Thank you," and walks off. Later on, I find out that clock was an hour ahead. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst, most embarrassing thoughts that I come back to once in a while. But I think it was especially funny that I just kept on whipping out different ways to tell the time, and literally not a single one of them was right. There's some irony in that, but yeah. Anyway, I thought that was if any of you can get that, I'm not going to say what it's from, but put it in the comment section if you know what it is, and if you do, I will personally account for your coolness. Anyway, today I'm going to be reading r/creepyencounters, and I was thinking of alternatives to Let's Not Me specifically, because I love that subreddit. And this is about the closest I can find without me plagiarizing people's hard work. So, yeah, let's get into the first story. I am picking these out impromptu, so bear with me if they're a bit crap. Anyway, by u/c-present 548. Creepy schoolmate who has an obsession with knowing everyone. I'm a university student, male in his 20s. Before all this, I had spoken to this guy maybe an hour in the entire semester. One day, during second semester, he approached me while I was killing time before class and started pitching the idea of me joining his team for block sectioning, whatever that is. He spent most of the conversation trying to impress me, talking about how he was a social butterfly and claiming he could analyze people just by observing them. At one point, he said we were alike. I told him I didn't have enough information to say that and asked if he was projecting. He got irritated and ended the conversation. About 3 weeks later, a friend of mine became the target of a petty smear campaign involving a misunderstanding with a girl who happened to be friends with him. I suspected he had something to do with it, but there wasn't much we could do. I only cleared the situation with the teacher who was being fed info and didn't ask my friend about his side. As for me, I already cleared my name, but only made me lose respect for the teacher, but it is what it is. Soon after, he added me on social media and messaged me late at night. The conversation felt like a survey. He kept asking questions and even showed me a folder where he claimed to collect information about people. I told him directly the conversation felt like a survey and that I wasn't interested in continuing. A week later, he started acting strange in person, trying to get my attention and even touching my hair without asking. I confronted him about it in chat and told him it made me uncomfortable. Instead of apologizing, he asked how he could earn the privilege. When I told him to stay in his lane, he started sending edgy messages like, "Are you afraid?" and "You should be. Watch me." When I didn't react, he suddenly switched tone and tried insulting me, calling me dumb and smart, while claiming he only wanted to be friends and that he is pushing away his pride so we can become friends and do some side quests together. Which he probably did because it would look odd if I just took the screenshot of the threats he did. So far, this dude's been watching me and trying to get into my space when I'm alone, but I often just leave the area before he gets too close. So far, I only plan on ignoring this guy until I graduate. Grade 6 level drama got me in contact with this psycho. May this kind of drama not follow me at work. Well, was this a creepy encounter? Yeah, and I think sometimes these creepy encounters are creepy simply by nature, but clearly this one was by design. And that's what's fascinating about this, because I think this guy spends too much time on TikTok, and he probably saw some stupid, like, you know what I'm talking about, guys, come on, the dark manipulation, the rules of power book. This guy read 4 pages of Sun Tzu's Art of War and suddenly thought that touching women's hair would become acceptable. I don't know. frankly, what makes it creepy is that it's mystifying, right? Anyway, I'm quite shocked that one isn't more large, considering it was quite well written. But anyway, let's see another one. This is by u/tiredmum15. My neighbor is getting creepy. So, some time ago, the woman who lived a few houses down fell down the stairs and died. After that, her family inherited the house. The woman's daughter is a cat hoarder, and her granddaughter is autistic. We are not sure how old the autistic girl is. She may be anywhere between 15 and 25. So, the cats are an issue, because the mum just lets them run free and poop everywhere, but that is the least of my concerns at the moment. When they first moved in, my husband had his first encounter with the autistic neighbor. She ran up to him and hugged him while crying and saying she was sad. He asked her if she needed help, and she started talking about something totally unrelated. He understood that she had some kind of learning disability and continued on his walk with the dog. This is the only encounter he had until today, which we will get into a moment after some more background information. I ran into her next she came and slapped me in the head. I told her, "Do not touch me," in a very serious tone. She backed off, and I was defensive, in a standing my ground kind of way, not an aggressive way. I'm sorry, autistic or not, no one is going to slap me. So I wasn't going to back off and have her do it again. I contacted her mother about this. She said she was sorry and explained her daughter was autistic. Look, I have had contact with other neurodivergent people, and I've never gotten a weird vibe from them. This girl gave me weird vibes since the slapping. The next time I ran into her was when I was walking my friend down to her car at 3 a.m. We have 2 doors where we live, a door outside and a security gate next to it. The space between the doors is enough for you to stand between them in an uncomfortable manner. I was walking my friend down, and she noticed her standing there between the doors in the dark, with her hair kind of hovering over her face and staring down a wall. She mentioned that was creepy as fuck, which I agreed to, and we both hurried to get away from whatever was happening. I work nights, so I started to see her out at like 1 to 3 a.m. frequently, because I take my dog down to pee when I'm done working. Once, I saw her trying to open a car, as she started hiding behind the car and watching me. I think she thought I couldn't see her, but I was watching her out the corner of my eye. Then, another time, I walked the dog down and saw her doing the creepy door stare thing. I wasn't really watching her this time because I thought she was locked in, so when I walked back up to my house, I didn't know she had gotten out and was hiding behind a car again. She started running after me, saying, "Hey, hey, come here." I ran. In fact, I did not want to find out what she wanted. I was able to get in my house in time and basically shut the door in her face. The last thing that happened, maybe like a week ago, was when I told my husband that she was creeping me out. I said she appeared to be harmful. I actually felt threatened by her. Keep in mind, my husband has not had contact with her since the first time about the crying. He told me maybe I was being paranoid, and she's just a little girl with a problem. Then I felt bad about it. She keeps on coming around the house. I got really sick about 6 months ago, and I had to go to the hospital ASAP. My husband wasn't home, and I couldn't take my kid to the ER and keep an eye on him while I was having an asthma attack. He's 10. It's legal to leave kids at that age alone at home. It was an emergency. I gave him a phone to call me if anything transpired. He called me. He said the girl was outside banging the door and ringing the doorbell while she's taking my shoes and wearing them around the front yard, grabbing everything. So I'm like actively low on oxygen while my kid is being harassed at the house. I told him to make sure the door has the deadbolt on it and to not open it. After I made sure he was safe, I wrote in the neighborhood chat and basically said, "Get your kid off my property. I'm in the hospital and she's trying to get in with my child inside." She left. I'm sorry, I can't even die in peace. I got nebulized with antibiotics and went home. After this, she started coming over to wear my shoes while she went around the neighborhood. Yesterday, she came back to my house again. I noticed because the shoes were moved. I have since installed a camera. I went and looked back at the video. She started to play with some tile I had outside and took off with my shoes again. I told her mum again. This time, I said, "I don't know if you know, but your child is out between 1 and 3 a.m. roaming the street, and she's also coming and using my shoes, which are a personal item. Please keep an eye on her. She could get hurt playing with them. It's dangerous." Today is when the really creepy stuff happened. So, we had a food delivery man arrive. My husband opened the door and greeted him. She just walks up from around the corner of the car while holding some food by 2 fingers. She walks right past the delivery man and starts to come inside the house. My husband blocks the door with his body as she's trying to get by aggressively, going left to right trying to get around him. The delivery man is just looking at us, shocked. My husband is saying bye to her various times. She's not leaving. She starts sniffing him, like close. She hands him the food various times until he takes it, then starts asking, "What are you going to name it?" He says, "I don't know," and then starts backing off, but not before growling in the delivery man's face, right in his grill, while making like a twisted face. So my husband had not met this side of the girl. I'm wondering if it's some kind of other mental disorder or possession at this point. I know it's mean, but honestly, this was scary. If it was something that would happen in The Conjuring. I haven't said anything to the mum. I don't know if we should report this. I don't even know if it would matter if she's a minor. I think she's playing people by acting like a child, but is really a bad person. She's obviously stalking the house because she tried to get in to my kid. I'm so glad he called me and didn't open the door. I feel so bad for leaving him. My husband agreed with me today that there's something seriously wrong with her, but the mum doesn't seem to care. Well, that's it. I apologize if when reading that it came across maybe as a little bit poor on my end. I will say, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm first of all not the best reader, but it also wasn't written most beautifully, so it was a little bit difficult for me to articulate myself, and I had to correct a lot of things before it was that I read it. So yeah, I do apologize. But yeah, that's a very creepy story. I mean, I find it hard to believe that that behavior is indicative of autism. I mean, I don't believe I personally have any right to speak on it, considering I don't have it, and more importantly, I'm not a professional. But what I will say is I find it hard to believe that that isn't something else, because I mean, yeah, it might cause difficulties with learning, and might change the way that you perceive certain situations, but usually autism is more indicative of incompatibility and not necessarily antisocial behavior in that form. But yeah, that is definitely quite tolerant of the OP, in my opinion. If somebody was doing that, you've got to prioritize your family, and being so jovial and polite to the mom is really not getting you anywhere. So maybe some security measures might need to be in place if you don't have them. And yeah, the OP has a few comments saying the similar thing on the post, like, stop leaving your shoes outside. Can't say that's bad advice. Also, tell the mum if she comes to your home again, you'll get a restraining order. Totally. Absolutely valid. There should have been a restraining order like 10 years ago. Let's see what else we can go on. Okay. This one's very short. We'll read out a short one. It's like a breather. I think I'm going to do this one whispering because, to be honest with you guys, my voice is a little fatigued. Apparently, I was being watched by u/character_light_5942. I had a second job in the evenings at a fast food place, working the drive-thru. I got off anywhere from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. 4 times a week. I lived a 10-minute walk away. The neighborhood was upper middle class, so I felt safe. And I didn't see a point to driving. If it was farther or a sketchy neighborhood, then I would drive. Anyway, for like 3 months, I did this. Then one day, a huge muscled man with a very intimidating look came through to the drive-thru, and when he got to the window, he said, "Hi, sweetie. I've been watching you. I see you walking home from work all the time. Do you need a ride? Can I meet you after work?" I just said my car was in the shop, but it's fixed now. It was then that I fully realized it was absolutely not safe to be walking home alone at night, because you never know who is watching or what their intentions are. Again, the neighborhood always felt safe, but it only takes one crime to change that. I started driving to and from work and never saw that guy again. See, this is like a true creepy encounter, because it's short, snappy. It's something that happened, something you saw, something you witnessed, something you encountered. And the reason I like them short is because to me it indicates that nothing bad, came of it. And I'm very happy that's the case, because that is a truly terrifying situation to be in. I'm very lucky to be in a position where I don't have to worry so much about that, not only because I live in quite a safe neighborhood, but because I am also a man. But I can imagine, a lot of workplaces that do late night often, to some degree, will forbid people from walking home in moral conscience, because it's not safe, even in a safe neighborhood. There are all sorts of unsavory people who will see the fact that someplace is safe and take that as a means to target that area, because people get a little bit overzealous, a little overconfident in the safety of their community. Unfortunately, the world is not perfect, and there are lots of evil people out there, and we have to be cognizant of that at all times, with every single action that might put us at risk. Anyway, I'm going to turn the gain back down, because I'm going to go back to speaking. I think it was like that before. Okay, That's okay. We've got the last story for today by similar_raspberry970. My Uber driver came back over an hour late. Over a drink. For context, I am a 25-year-old female who lives alone. So this happened a while ago, and I still think about how weird and honestly scary it was. I ordered Uber Eats, food, and a drink to my apartment. I live in a gated complex, so when the driver arrives, I open the gate, let them in, and then close it again once they leave. Everything seemed normal. I let the driver in, they dropped the order at my door, and I opened the gate again so they could leave. When I grabbed my order, only the food was there and no drink. I was annoyed, but it happens sometimes, and assumed the restaurant had just forgotten to give it to the driver. So I sat down and ate. Maybe the driver got thirsty, guys, who knows. After I finished eating my food, I went on app to report the missing drink so I could get a refund. And that's when I noticed I had missed calls and voice messages from the driver. The first voicemail was already a bit weird. He just says, "Hello? Hello? Are you there? And then trails off like he's stressed. The second voicemail is about 9 seconds of silence, and he quietly says to himself, I just don't know what to do anymore, man." At this point, I'm thinking, okay, that's a bit odd, but maybe he realized he forgot my drink and is stressing about it. Then I listen to the third voicemail, and his tone is completely different. After a few seconds, he says, with attitude, "Okay, I guess I'm going to assume you just don't want your drink." About an hour and a half later, I'm on a phone with a friend telling them about the voicemails when suddenly I hear aggressive banging on my front door, like bang, 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 as loud as someone possibly could. I froze because I live alone, and as a woman that instantly put me on edge. I slowly walked up to the door, and before I could even process it, it happened again, just as loud and aggressive. I called out, "Hello," to the door, but I did not open it. Then, in a much quieter, almost timid voice, which honestly made it creepier compared to the banging, he says, "I'm your Uber driver. I've got your drink." At that point, I was genuinely freaked out. I told him through the door that I had already reported the drink missing in the app, and I didn't think I could change it. I told him through the door to just leave it at the door. I didn't want to open it because I was scared and didn't feel comfortable. I waited and opened the gate so he could leave the complex, and I checked and walked him through the gate to make sure he actually left the complex. I apologize for the dogs, by the way. My sister's probably just got home from high school. I still don't understand how he even got back into a gated complex over an hour later, and I don't understand why he was so fixated on his drink that he even came back long after the order was finished. I also didn't drink the smoothie. I don't blame you. The whole situation made me so uncomfortable. The way he came back, how he determined he was to give it to me, and just the overall vibe he was giving off made me paranoid he might have done something to it, so I threw it out. I don't even know if this fully explains how weird his energy was. The talking to himself, the sudden aggression, and the way he seemed almost angry at me over something as small as forgetting a drink. It just really felt off. I never reported him because I was honestly scared he would know and come back. He knew where I lived and somehow got back into a locked complex. Even posting this now kind of freaks me out. Part of me is like, what if he somehow sees this and comes back? Do you think it's safe to be posting? Or should I take it down? I think you're paranoid. And I think paranoia might not be a bad way of looking at things sometimes, honestly. Because, you know, when you said being home alone as a girl, it makes you cautious, I think that's, you know, that's very wise. And I think your prolonged caution is also constituent with your wiseness, but you have nothing to fear, I don't think. I don't think the guy's going to come back, because he sounds very mentally ill. And I doubt, well, I mean, there's probably a lot of mentally ill people scrolling Reddit, but I don't think he's that kind of mentally ill. I think he's just like BPD, tweaking kind of ill, you know what I mean? But let's read some comments. I think you handled the situation well. I'm sorry you had to experience that. I think you absolutely did the right thing listening to your gut. If similar situations happen in the future, you don't have to go to the door and say hello. I think it was very good that you kept it shut and locked, made sure he was out of the gate, and that it closed properly when you threw out the drink. Smart. So yeah, something I do find very interesting is the fact that he managed to break into the gated part, so to speak, and there's a comment which addresses this. I think that might cover the mysteriousness behind that. As a phone sales associate for ADT Security, never think you're 100% safe for being in a gated community. Something as simple as following a car in, maybe a friend or family let him in. Maybe he's also a common vendor or a UPS Amazon guy for your area and found a loophole. I'm not the best salesperson, but some of the pain and horror that I've heard over the phone makes me feel like I'm a 911 operator. Wow. Cameras won't do much, but at least get a doorbell cam for now. Yeah, everyone's saying I'd be interested to hear your experience, and so am I. That sounds fascinating to hear, but I suppose it would be, in many ways, a breach of privacy, so probably not. But anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy. This one's a bit longer, and I'm quite happy about that. So, yeah. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening. Bye-bye.